Welcome again, guys. So I'll just introduce you guys again, just for each other as well as people who are going to be, watching this later. So first up, we have Ariana, who's a stem cell scientist and a medical writer. She's based in the UK. Although are you in Italy right now or back in London?
I'm in London.
She's based in London, and she mainly takes writing and consultancy projects on Kolabtree. Then we have Hugo. He's based in Brazil, and he's a food scientist and a biomaterials researcher. And the interesting bit is Hugo. He undertook a project on Kolabtree, I think 8 months ago, where he helped Pegs, which is like a food company. He helped them formulate a recipe for vegan eggs. So that was picked up by the mainstream media, including CNN, and it became quite big. Next up, we have Ahmed. He's based in Barcelona right now, and he has his own company. It's called Colorna, which specializes in rapid over-the-counter testing for COVID-19. So I've had the pleasure of interviewing all you guys separately for our Spotlight series, but I think this is the first time like you guys are we brought you together. So if you want to go ahead and tell us about your freelancing journey, working on Kolabtree, or just freelancing, the lifestyle in general. Ariana, do you want to kick it off? Yeah. Interesting. I forgot to mention Ariana recently transitioned to full-time freelancing, so maybe she's the best person to kick it off.
I started freelancing like less than a couple of years ago. I guess when the pandemic started, and I was doing it on the side of my research job. I was a postdoc here in London, and then I started liking it so much that since 10 months I made it my full-time job. So I now work as a medical and scientific writer full-time with on Kolabtree and other platforms, or through LinkedIn, and I really enjoy it. And I was really thankful to Kolabtree that I discovered this whole world. And I love writing. It's always been a big passion of mine. So I really feel I'm putting together my passion for science and my passion for writing. And I also believe it was a good time with the pandemic, because people realized the importance of proper science communication, and there was a lot of outsourcing, also remote work and freelancing. I think they became more the norm, so that's good. So that's a bit about my experience.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ariana. I think Hugo also had like similar thoughts. When I interviewed him, he spoke about branching off from like working in a business to freelancing. Like Hugo, do you want to share some thoughts?
Absolutely. So I started freelancing for 2 years ago when I lost my job at the university, and I just found Kolabtree on Nature newsletter, and I got really interested in it, and I started bidding projects. I got my first project, I guess, like for 4 to 5 months after I started the bidding on Kolabtree. And since then, I don't look back. I really enjoy the freelancing style of living. And I love working on my projects with a lot of different people from different parts of the world, and even like different subjects. So it's really exciting every day, because every day it's like a different topic, it's a different thing to do. So it keeps fresh. So it's really interesting, and I'm really enjoying doing this.
Yeah, totally agree with every day being different, and enjoying working on different projects, different clients from all over the world. I wouldn't go back.
Yeah. Ahmed, I think you might have a slightly like similar yet like a different take on it, because you also have your own company on the side.
Well, it's similar in the sense that I started in the same time frame with the pandemic. Right before the pandemic, I was on the job market to go from postdoc to assistant professor. That wasn't fruitful. And so I was looking for alternatives, and the pandemic started. And so the idea of Colorna came up, is to make a company and benefit from my experience in detecting RNA to make a home kit for detecting the virus. And although we had a strong start, we only lasted for 6 months. For many reasons, we didn't complete, or the company didn't take off. And so the question was, okay, what now? I don't really want to be a postdoc anymore. And it's hard in the pandemic to get a job. And then a friend gave me the tip of trying out freelancing. And that's when I found Kolabtree. And it's been a great experience. As Ariana mentioned, new projects, interacting with people all over the world. You get to do what you like the most without any of the bureaucracy that comes with working in a company or university or so forth. So it's been very flexible. It helped me a lot in a very difficult financial period of my life. Now I'm pausing a little bit from Kolabtree, taking a few months off. I started a research scientist position in Barcelona, but I think after this is over, I do want to go back to freelancing, especially taking it full time, more as a consultant role, and base my work on the same sort of spirit of freelancing, of finding clients that have a particular job that needs to be done, and offering your expertise and finishing it and moving on. And Kolabtree has been an excellent platform to find such clients in the past, and I hope so in the future as well.
Yeah, I think Ariana sort of does the recurring projects you're talking about, Ahmed. Right, Ariana? You have a few recurring clients on Kolabtree.
Yeah, I do a mixture of writing and consulting. The consulting I do is either like technical one about for biotech, or like using my stem cell or biomaterials expertise, but also I do quite a bit of like science communication strategy. I actually, through Kolabtree, I work for Editage that so we deliver a webinar for academics mainly all around the world about communicating science, writing about science. So that's another part that I really enjoy. Almost once a week I have a webinar that I gave, and yeah, I find it really rewarding. So I mean, I like working from home, and I don't feel it's a lonely kind of job, because in the end you interact with a lot of people, and also, yeah, with these webinars, and I think it's cool. A lot of, like, I think sometimes people have this idea that like you're there, you write, you work on your own, and but I feel it's not like that.
Yeah, there's always a lot going on, right? A lot of events, a lot of stuff. Yeah. And it's interesting you guys mentioned the pandemic, because that was something I wanted to talk about. Because like, I mean, from what I've sort of learned talking to freelancers like yourselves, the pandemic has been like a double-edged sword, right? On one hand, like it has opened up a lot of doors for freelancers, like freelancers are entering the mainstream ecosystem right now. Companies are, looking at cost cutting, assembling hybrid teams globally. But then on the other hand, we also had freelancers talk about the effect on their mental health. Like, that was picked up by a lot of articles, like especially academics, the effect of lockdowns and isolation on mental health. So is there anything you guys can, throw light on? Like, how has it affected you personally? How have you juggled it?
Well, at the beginning, I found it really hard to go from like hardcore lab life to being in lockdown here in London. Yeah, I used to be in the lab most of the time, so I wasn't that used to like working from home, or sometimes it would happen when you write a paper or when I wrote my PhD thesis, but otherwise I was in the lab most of the time. So at the beginning, I my mental health was really affected. And but actually the freelancing and the writing, it helped me, like it distracted me because I was doing something on the side. I had all this extra time during the weekend, in the evening there was like nothing else to do, so it kind of helped me to feel all this extra time doing something that I realized I really enjoyed. Otherwise I wouldn't have done it. So in a sense, yeah, after a few months it became a really nice distraction, so much so that then it actually became my job. So yeah, it was hard though.
For me, it was not so much the not being able to leave the house, but more because I had lost the job and I had to provide to the family, so that bring out a lot of pressure, and the having to provide without the job and without being able, with all the restrictions of getting one. Kolabtree really kind of saved my life and my family. So it was the mental aspect was not so much of the not leaving the house, but more the pressure of having to provide. And that was really stressful, you know. But once you get into the role of having clients and having projects and things start to look up for you, so then we start to think, oh, it would be really nice to go out of the. But it's like one of those things. They're like priorities, like primary stuff that you have to deal with, and then I here in Brazil, after a while, it wasn't. I believe it wasn't that strict as possibly in Europe, but still, yeah, the thing about being in the house with the family, it's different, and but we try to take a good approach about it and see the good aspects of it. I spent a lot of time with my toddler, with my daughter that had like 2-3 years, so it was like this really nice time having a lot of time with her. So yeah, I just look into the good things about it.
I agree with Hugo that the unemployment part was more stressful. I spent the pandemic in Sweden, so it was probably one of the more flexible countries with no lockdown, but also one of the more expensive countries. So it was more about trying to find a source of income, and that was the stressful part. So, and then it was very rewarding to see that this Kolabtree mechanism is working actually. So I haven't shared any of the sort of the experiences of being confined to home that most people around the world have. I don't regret that.
Yeah, I think I think each one, it's been really varied, and like Hugo put it, like the hierarchy, the Maslow's hierarchy. They talk about the survival first, and then you sort of talk about freedom and independence. I think it's been pretty, like you said, like all of you guys have started freelancing amidst the pandemic. Uh, at the same time, we've also had freelancers who used to freelance even before that, and then they found the pandemic to sort of open up new opportunities. So it's been like, yeah, I think it's been like quite varied, the experiences, and it's really interesting to see how the perception has changed as well. Because one of our freelancers told us earlier during an interview how before the pandemic, like there was this perception about freelancers, how more of a bohemian lifestyle. Those are the exact words she used, right? And freelancers were seen as a risk, like a bit sort of should we integrate them into the ecosystem? But now with lockdowns and remote working becoming the norm, I think companies are, I think inevitably they're opening up, right, to sort of integrating these freelancers into their workforce. And that's been great to see because we have a lot of quality freelancers, like as to other websites. And it's great to see the whole working situation change around the world. And for you guys personally, I wanted to ask, has there been a difference? Like earlier you would work in labs and like for specific research topics. And now it's like, are you sort of working on more industrial topics on Kolabtree, industrial experiences? Like, how has the shift been in terms of like talking purely professionally now? Like, are you working on more complex problems, more niche problems? Is there anything you can share in terms of that?
Oh, okay. I've been working on different sections. Like I've worked on industry, I've worked on academia, and now I'm freelancing. And it's I cannot put my finger on it in terms of the there's like challenging topics in freelancing, but because of the circumstances of your day-to-day living, I think that sometimes you have more time than in the industry to solve those issues. The pressure is different than from academia. That there's no pressure in academia, at least where I used to work. There's like not as much pressure, possibly because I live in Brazil and it's not so the competition is not as hard as in Europe. I'm Portuguese, I'm not Brazilian, I'm Portuguese, so I made my PhD in Portugal, so I know that things get really more competitive there. I don't know if I share this, but I tried to become a postdoc in Portugal, and I just couldn't be a postdoc in Portugal because of all the Indians guys all over the world went to those postdoc grants, so I just couldn't deal with it. But that's the thing. That's a good thing about being in this new economy that's world based. It's not only based, but regarding the industry, yeah, I think that there's a lot of pressure in industry that you have to solve problems, especially because I worked in a contract manufacturing organization, so we had our clients and we had to provide for our clients in timelines. And in freelancer, we have a bit more time to deal with those challenges. And in academia, the pressure is it's, at least for me, it's almost off. We had like this research to do, and if it went well, it went well. If it didn't, it didn't. So yeah, that's how I scale things.
Yeah, I think the impact. Sorry, Ariana, you're gonna say something.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, that my experience is quite the opposite in terms of another thing I really enjoy about this job is that I don't feel so much pressure. I mean, there's a lot of pressure, like there's deadlines from clients, especially if you work with the industry, with pharma. But when I was working in academia, the level of pressure was really sky high, and sometimes it was too much for me. So I really enjoy now this flexibility. Like I feel you need to be very organized with deadlines, and yeah, there's pressure, but at the end you are also in charge of arranging your own projects and negotiating with the clients. So I feel like there's less kind of pressure from the outside and the environment that what I felt in academia here in the UK and in the US. And in terms of type of projects, like being a medical writer, mainly I work now like more on the clinical side of things, which I really enjoy. So all the projects that I work on, they're all very clinical, either the writing or the consulting. So I really like that. But I still do something related with academia, like all these science communication webinars, for example. They're mainly targeted at academics. I write, I don't know, press releases for academic papers. So I'm still in touch with the kind of both worlds, the industry and academia. But I feel overall the shift that's been more towards like more clinical projects. And I work with some charities also that I really, really enjoy, that I found through Kolabtree. I would like to do that more. That's kind of my goal for the year, because I really enjoy, you feel you have an impact if you write something for patients, and it's nice. It's a nice feeling. So yeah, again, it's really a mixture, but yeah, very, very different for me, very different from the super niche that I was working in my research job. But by definition, when like the more you move on in the research career, you have your little niche. While here it's broader, the topics are broader and more varied for me.
I was surprised that most of my clients were from academia, actually. So I did data analysis and bioinformatics, and several clients were either heading a lab and they needed help analyzing data or running analyses, and they didn't have a full-time bioinformatician and they didn't have a collaborator to do that, or physicians that wanted to do meta-analyses but are busy in the clinic, but did all the literature search and have all the numbers, but need someone to crunch them. So academia does have a need for freelancers, or as they would call us for administrative purposes, contractors or independent scientists. There is a need because financially it's cheaper for many labs that are maybe underfunded to get that sort of very small job done instead of hiring someone full-time to take care of similar jobs. In addition, there have been projects with startups that needed some research into a COVID testing kit or a genetic test and so forth. So I would say, and in addition to industry that are interested in scientific content, writing some scientific content to support a website or so. But overall, it's been maybe half of the projects have been academia. And I didn't notice any stigma or worries about working with a freelancer, whether they're reliable or not, or consistent or not. Usually, if someone comes onto Kolabtree, they know what they're looking for. They're looking for a freelancer, and they value that kind of work.
Yeah, I totally agree. I never felt that. Actually, yeah, the opposite. Because I feel people, if they go on Kolabtree, they are looking for an expert. So it's a bit like the opposite of the bohemian lifestyle or the unreliable freelancers. In my experience, yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah, I think the clients who come on Kolabtree, they have that view. But the ones that who still, like Ahmed said, they might have a need for that can be filled by an independent scientist such as yourselves, but they still have that confidentiality issues, like onboarding. How do we integrate them into the ecosystem? But thankfully, that's changing. I think, like the last 2 years, I've seen like a lot of these misgivings being removed. And do you guys have any thoughts on like going forward? Like, I mean, the pandemic, I don't know if it'll truly ever get over. It's gonna be like we're gonna probably need shots every year, to keep that under control. But like once things go back to a relatively normal situation, how do we keep this sort of developments? How do we sustain this? Like, how do we make sure independent scientists are still sought after? How companies, their mindset, like, do you think it'll go back, or do you think it'll stay this way? This new perception of independent consultants and scientists.
I don't know, maybe I'm optimistic, but I think it will stay the same, or it will even increase, because first of all, remote working is here to stay. Like, people are never going back, like in big cities such as London, or they're never going back to their old ways of commuting every day for 2 hours to just go and sit in front of a computer. I think that's it's here to stay. And as I said, like, the pandemic made like clear the importance of experts and scientists, hopefully for not for everyone, but for most, people. So I think I actually think it will get better, and it's here to stay. This perspective and this concept of like outsourcing something to an expert, whether it's data analysis, is writing, is consulting. Like, I think it's a really clever way of working, and I actually realized that I do that myself now a lot more. Like, to have this mindset, kind of, yeah, I don't know how to do this, and I need to ask someone who knows how to do this. And when you're in academia, it's a bit harder because you're supposed to be an expert of everything, from the data, from the design to the data analysis to the presentation. Like, you're supposed to be good at every single step, and I think we can't be expert in everything. So I hope going forward, I mean, I'm optimistic by nature, but I hope it will stay and it will get better, because I wouldn't see why not. I don't know what the others feel.
I agree that freelancing will continue to be a need, especially, and also I think once PhD students or postdocs realize that this is a career alternative, and when there are enough examples of freelancers who do this full time and share their experience and tips and whatnot, and when you have platforms like Kolabtree expanding their reach, especially within academia, letting labs know that this is an alternative, this is a place to find talent and skill without having to onboard an employee. It's going to become more of a career alternative, and this will be the kind of job that many people will find works excellent for them. It has the flexibility they want. For whatever reason, they need flexibility. It's independent, so they set their own schedule, and they are their own boss. There is a lot of room for growth, because essentially what we are experts or consultants, and this kind of job has existed before freelancing as a term. But this is a new way to get into that role as an independent expert or consultant or contractor that can help people with projects they have. I am optimistic about this kind of work, but I also think that there are many ways that platforms like Kolabtree can help expand this field, but also freelancers themselves can help new people get in and sort of enrich this culture of freelancing by offering ways for people to overcome or to avoid mistakes that they made, or to make the best out of this job opportunity and to do it in a better way. So I am optimistic about it.
I agree with both of you. I think there's future, and it's a good thing that this pandemic changed the mindset of the way we see the freelancers. And we see a lot of, for example, startups. And I think that this type of work as a freelancer can go hand in hand with startups, because startups are like really small companies that sometimes need specific niche work done. And experts like us can help them identify if that's the way to go, or not go that direction, go this way. And I think that freelancing and remote working, it's here to stay, and the tools to do it are getting much better. For example, this type of meetings, softwares and internet and all that, it's getting each day better, and the things that we can do with the computer, it's also getting better each day. So I think there's a lot of future with this type of working. for my type of work, I still need the web. I still need I just organize the web in my house to do the things that I have to do for my clients, because sometimes they need a prototype, sometimes they need some formulation testing. So I still had to do a laboratory. So but it's different. I have a laboratory in my house. It's still remote. It's still home, but remote for clients. So there's a lot of good stuff and some investment regarding from the freelancers that I think that will maintain this in the future, as long as there's like people offering work for them to do. So it's a good thing that this pandemic changing this way of seeing remote working, because there's no bohemia here.
Yeah, I think that's the crucial aspect, because like our clients, like the ones who keep using Kolabtree, who have these connections with our freelancers, they are completely aware of, like, the credentials, the kind of authority our freelancers possess. And the people that we're trying to bring on board, like as part of our marketing outreach, the challenge for us really is, to communicate to them that, okay, you don't have to go to your network, you don't have to go to universities, you can contact these highly skilled independent consultants on our platform. And I think, like you guys said, the mentality has changed, is continuing to evolve and progress. And hopefully we'll be at a point where freelance scientists are seen as mainstream, like everyone is aware of you guys, and like, everyone's aware that hiring freelancers is like the way to go. And I think, Ahmed, I wanted to bring this up. You mentioned how you wanted to talk to other freelancers about setting up this eventual consultancy plan. Like, do you want to talk about it? Do you want to interact?
One thing that comes up a couple of times when working with academia is co-authorship. And when you think about co-authorship, usually you have to have a place where you work. And so as a freelancer, when you sort of have your affiliation, it's not clear what your affiliation is. So that's one thing that started getting me thinking there. The other thing was, just for normal bookkeeping and tax reasons, sometimes it's good to have a legal entity that identifies you, which would then be your affiliation if you were to be a co-author on a paper. And so that got me thinking more about how freelancers go from being just subscribers or users of a platform like Kolabtree as independent persons, to legalizing their entity as a company, whether it's limited liability or doing business as, or whatever the title would be, depending on the country or the size of their operation. And then it's pretty much a consulting company that you can then use as an affiliation for yourself, and also to bring in your fees and organize your accounting for taxes and so forth. And I was wondering if Hugo or Ariana have gone that far, or if you have research going that far, and if you have any thoughts about it. Because also, when you're a consulting company and you have let's maybe a presence on LinkedIn or online, Kolabtree becomes your main source, or a main source of clients, but also you're open to the web for people to find you as well. So these are things I've been thinking about, and I wanted to see if you also have been thinking about it, and maybe we can talk a little bit more about what you've reached.
That's very interesting. I think I haven't gotten that far in thinking about it. But yeah, the idea of like having something like that has your back, like like a legal entity representing you, or which can also be something you can use for training. I don't know. I go a lot for that. I'm part of the European Medical Writer Association, and I was just thinking like that it has helped me if I had some doubts, even about the logistics of this job, and to share thoughts with other freelancers. So within the association, there's a freelance business group, and that's been really useful for me. For example, it's always useful to have some sort of network and organization that you can turn to if you have problems or questions. And at the beginning, as you mentioned, you can do mistakes, and you can, so it's a really interesting point.
And just to clarify, what I meant by company was a company of one employee, which would be you or me, or like it's basically representing you, not an association of freelancers. But are you mean that the Medical Writers Association is a good source for advice on how to do that, or?
It can be like in terms of that. For example, here in the UK, it really depends on the country. Here in the UK, you can either be a sole trader or a limited company with just one employee. And it really depends what works best for you. At the moment, I'm a sole trader, but I think maybe in a couple of years, I will move to a limited company. But I also, for me, I found it a bit hard at the beginning to navigate all of these, and also that's why I didn't want to start with a limited company from the beginning. I felt for me was safer and easier also logistically to start as a sole trader, and it's working well so far. But definitely the idea of having a limited company, or also it's something that it's not the responsibility is not on you, it's on the company, so it's quite different in a sense. So
this is a really interesting topic, I believe. So I've been working as a sole trader also, so but there's like ways to formalize my like an entrepreneur, or like a micro entrepreneur here in Brazil, but I've never looked into it. First of all, during the pandemic, I was just trying I was just focusing on getting work and getting paid, so I didn't consider much about it. Nowadays, I find myself really considering starting my own company, my own like consultancy company, but I'm like this really bad guy with bureaucratics and stuff like that. So I really dislike that type of work, and it's all a big unknown for me. So sometimes I just find myself like, okay, I just want to do the job, the technical job, and forget about all of those bureaucratic stuff. And but it would be awesome to have some sort of mentorship regarding that. But the challenge I see is that it's different in Europe from Brazil, so I don't know how you could conciliate that. But it would be great to have some sort of support regarding that formalization of some sort of company. I don't know if it would be, for example, since we are freelancers, the thing that attracts clients, that we are not organized, so they can negotiate directly with you, and they know that it's just you. So I don't know if we are a company, or if I was a company that would. I have seen on the expert browser on Kolabtree, people that have like a company and then they have a standalone, and I don't know how that works for them. If it's better for clients to see a company there, or to see like a sole entrepreneur or a sole expert, I really don't know how it would work. But for me, it would be great to have some mentorship regarding formalizing some sort of company, but I don't know if that would be interesting for clients. and ultimately, if we don't have clients, we don't have a job. So
yeah, the times I
thing.
thought about a company, but again, I can see the same issue that you just brought up, is when I thought about like outsourcing myself, like employing someone in the future, maybe not just yet, because I find myself that I have to turn down a lot of work because I it's only me, and there's only 24 hours in a day. So sometimes I think, yeah, maybe in the future, if I have someone like that I can trust, and that they can help me and like work with me, that's when the times when I thought, yeah, maybe in the future with the company you can do that, you can employ someone. But then, as Hugo said, that's the clients, they come to like you personally because they know you are the expert, so maybe they wouldn't like you giving their project to another writer, in my case, although I trust this person, but I can see their points too. So yeah, it's kind of tricky.
Yeah, I think as someone who's hired, I mean, I've hired on Upwork and Fiverr for Kolabtree. And of course, I agree with Hugo. I tend to go for if I'm hiring let's say a video editor, I tend to go for someone who seems to be an individual over like an agency. But I think it's also possible to isolate it. You can still have your singular profile on Kolabtree, and probably in the background for accounting, taxing purposes, have a company profile. I think that's something, that'd be good to explore maybe down the line. Get more freelancers to shed some insight on it. We might have freelancers on Kolabtree who are already doing that. So I can try to find them and put them in touch with you guys. And also, like, since you brought up this whole freelancing on the website, those aspects, I also wanted to talk to you guys about the confidentiality aspect. When you take up projects, like as a company, we are interested in like how the whole confidentiality, data security, those conversations shape up within the platform. Do you think there's something that we can do to enhance those negotiations? Like, do you guys like, has there been instances of that posing a hurdle? Like, for example, some companies might ask you not to work for a competitor for another year or something like that. So anything you can shed insight on?
Yeah, in my experience, it hasn't been an issue. Like, it's something that it's often considered, of course, not always, not for every project, but for some projects. I work a lot for like healthcare communication agency that work for big pharma. So of course, there's a lot of money involved and a lot of interest. And so yeah, I almost always sign an NDA. But yeah, I think it's always the client that they bring it up first, and to me, it hasn't been an issue so far. Like it's something we I talk about a lot with the clients at the beginning. Just we sign the NDA and then we can start. I never had the issue like not working for a competitor or for now for the type of work that I do. But yeah, I don't see that as an issue. Of course, some clients were like more like we can't even talk if you haven't signed this, or some like maybe we have an initial meeting and then we sign the NDA after. Like, but it's okay.
Yeah, I usually even my proposal I mentioned signing an NDA. I really think that it's important in the type of work I do, and because I need some information from the clients, and that information it's sensitive, and there's clients that just don't care, and there's other clients that they're really strict about it and really want an NDA and whatever entities there are. So yeah, there's like different type of things. I think that Kolabtree is doing a good work regarding the confidentiality in theirs, in the chat, and all that. I see all those things bring in the chat rooms, and I think that the client should feel confident that their information is not being reviewed. I always think about it. If I break the confidence of a client, I will get a bad review, and that will really harm my work in the future, and I probably will not get as many projects as I could get. And ultimately, if you don't respect the client's intellectual property, and the client exposes you, you are going to lose your job. So I think that's something that it's great that Kolabtree has all those tools, all the confidentiality, the possibility to attach an NDA, and I think it's great because it brings confidence, and that's really important, the relation that we have with the client. And it's a good thing that Kolabtree respects that and brings it as a topic.
Yeah, I think the NDA, of course, the first layer of protection, that's something that we've implemented for quite a while. I was just interested to know, like, because sometimes, like, I mean, this is really interesting because most clients, like, when they, especially the outreach programs we do, right, to prospects, confidentiality is something that comes up quite often. And since you guys have worked in the industry, in academia, I was just intrigued to know, like, do you think there's something else Kolabtree can include, like a second layer of protection, something that will assuage these fears and, just give the client more confidence before hiring?
I don't know. I think that how it is right now, it's good. Of course, not all clients seek that. So if not all clients seek that confidentiality, I don't know if Kolabtree should impose more any type of NDAs, but yeah, why not? When the client accepts a proposal, why not have an NDA prepared for the client that they just both sign, and it's settled. So why not Kolabtree do that? I don't know. I don't know all the legality stuff. Like, I'm not a very bureaucratic guy, so I don't know all the legality stuff and the legals. But why not having like already a prepared NDA that after acceptance you just sign both and okay, let's settle. That could be a good tool.
Yeah, and it's about protecting the interest of the freelancers as well, because like we get clients recurring, they come and go, but our freelancers, like since they are our most important resource, it's about protecting our freelancers as well in the event of any conflict, which happens quite rarely, not a lot, but still, yeah. So that's the angle I was coming from. And yeah, that's been pretty insightful. Anything you guys want to tell fellow freelancers about your experiences? Any words of wisdom for them? Like Ahmed said, hopefully once like it becomes mainstream that this is like a genuine career option, we'll hopefully have more people, scientists jumping into freelancing. So any career advice?
Well, a lot of the skills you learn as a PhD student or a postdoc really come handy as a freelancer. So, I mean, when you think about freelancing, you wonder, am I really an expert? And if I am, I'm an expert in such a very narrow domain that no one else is interested in. So is it really for me or not? But I think if you were to take a step back, I mean, try to take a step back and look at the basics things that you've been developing over many years as a researcher and as a student before that. Things like problem solving or data analysis, writing for papers or for grants. These are all, and if you keep on digging, you'll find a lot of skills that many people need. And so try to like bring those out and polish them and think about how you can present that. And also when you bid on a project, really give it time. The way you are, for example, writing a grant proposal, like you really want to show that you've thought about this project and this is what you've done that's similar to it in the past. This is what you offer the project. Really sort of give the clients, show them that you have thought about what they're asking for, and that this corresponds with your previous experiences, as opposed to just sending a generic proposal for the project. So sort of tailor it to the client. Those are two things I'd like to sort of mention as maybe tips for freelancers or aspiring freelancers.
Yeah, fantastic.
I totally agree with Ahmed in his tips. Really consider the project that's upon you, and seeking you what you can give for the project, and what your background can provide for the project. Really tailor that proposal. Do not use like a template or something like that. Have templates for other things, but not for a proposal. And really try to understand what's the client needs, even foreseeing it. Like, for example, if it's I have like similar projects time to time, and I already foresee what's going to be their next challenges. So you can even foresee their next challenge, and then the next and the next. And sometimes you can just like lay out to them, okay, so this is what's probably going to happen with your product. This is going to happen now, and then, for example, I work a lot with shelf life, and we have what we talk about cutoff points. So first the cookies go stale, and they go rancid, and then they go moldy. So just in the client approaches you because the cookies are getting stale, but you know that in the end they're going to get moldy, so you have to work on that. So that's so foreseeing the steps that the client is going to have to handle, and just lay it out to them what they are going to need. It's a really good way to conquer the confidence from the clients, because they really understand that you are an expert, and they can really help you throughout, not only in that specific moment, but throughout of the product development. And they have an ally with you that they can count. If you can deliver that confidence right off from the proposal and from a first meeting, then it's going to you're probably going to be successful getting clients and proposals accepted.
Yeah, I think patience and personalization, like Hugo, like you mentioned, you waited 4 months for your first project, am I right, on Kolabtree?
Exactly.
So I think that, just filtering out, just waiting for the right project. And like Ahmed said, like taking a step back, like you might have a niche, but then you might have other skills that you haven't really acknowledged, building up to that niche. So I think, that's really interesting. So
absolutely, I totally agree. And also another thought that I had, especially at the beginning, like to kind of not be afraid. Like you're always going to be, especially at the beginning, you're always going to be, this sounds cliche, but you're always going to be outside your comfort zone, because you've never done this in this way. And so the confidence will come by doing it more and working with more clients. And I think it's all part of the process. Maybe at the beginning it's a steep learning curve, because you're on your own. There's not really anyone telling you what to do, but that's also the nice part of it, because you learn quite fast, and you learn from your mistakes, and you just develop confidence in your skills more and more. So another tip would be to just not be scared, and like take the risk at the beginning, and if you're good at what you do, that you will pay off.
That's a really good perspective from the PhD. We are all PhD here, and I see that in a lot of people. We're not that like happy-go-lucky kind of confident people. PhDs really know what they don't know. So, so sometimes that doesn't work on your behalf in terms of having confidence to approach some projects. And that's a really good thing that Ahmed tells you, that you should look into your background, that the years that you spent doing a lot of high skill work, and don't just narrow yourself regarding what the niche that you work that's so specific, but look into all the skills that you gather for yourself.
Completely. Yeah. I think that's all the questions I had. I mean, it's been a really fruitful chat. Do you guys have any thoughts that you wanted to bring up? I mean, I've been sort of like pushing some questions your way, but if you guys have any thoughts, either for me or for the other freelancers, please go ahead.
I think that Kolabtree should keep trying to improve. This is more about the conditions, because employees always complain about the employer, and I see as Kolabtree as my employer. So, but what I really want is that Kolabtree keeps improving and keeps working on their website, trying to make it better, and all those little things in clients communications. I want everything to. I even gave some ideas about having like a career inside Kolabtree where experts really get into different stages and have different rates. I think that the economy it's really changing, and Kolabtree should also adapt to what's happening in their ecosystem, in their environment, and it should look into ways to improve itself. So it's not only the clients and the experts that should improve themselves, but also Kolabtree should try to keep up and give more options, give more tools, give more stuff to the ecosystem.
Yeah, I agree. I think a really like logistic tip that I would have for Kolabtree that I've seen on other platforms such as Upwork is for what you call top freelancers, or like after a certain amount of earnings or a certain amount of project, it would be nice to have like a deduction in the fee of I'm being too direct, but I think
the 20% thing that keeps coming up.
Yeah, it's
that's something that
because other platforms do it, and it makes a difference if you go from 20% to 10%, and it's a way to keep, as you said, like freelancers are your biggest resource, so it's also a way to keep them there, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Let me just, and there's like some highlights on some experts, like highly rated experts, and it's really unfair, to be honest, because sometimes totally they have one project, two projects, and they are highly rated, and I have 80 projects, and I'm not considered highly rated.
Same, yeah.
So that's really unfair.
I brought this up with Naren. You remember when we talked? Yeah, and I emailed. I don't care. To be honest, I emailed many times without a reply from Kolabtree. Not from you, but yeah, in general, because like, can you give me an explanation why? As Hugo said, really like unfair. I have tons of projects, and like, why? So that I really don't understand.
Ultimately, it's the proposal and with the client relationship, but I don't know. We never know if that's making a difference or not.
Yeah, and it's the same if you want to compare to other platforms such as Upwork. They have very clear criteria on how you become an expert or a top rated and top rated plus. So I'm top rated plus on Upwork, but I worked to get there. Like, I knew exactly what I had to do, how much I had to earn, how many projects and everything. it was very transparent, and it makes a difference because you come up first in the search. Like it makes a difference. So I totally agree with Hugo. Like, I think it's really unfair, and I don't understand why Kolabtree is not transparent. And it looks to me quite random, to be honest. This assignment of the highly rated expert.
No, I absolutely agree because, like, I mean, this interview is a sign of it because I've got you three on this interview, which implies that you're three of our top rated freelancers. So ideally, all of you should have a highly rated badge. I mean, if we look at it that way. So yeah, I mean, I can definitely try to provide more clarity on it. I know Ariana did get in touch with me last time as well. After
yeah,
that,
but it wasn't successful.
I did try to find out. Unfortunately, other things came up. But I'll definitely, the very least I can do is like try to get the clarity, try to understand how the algorithm works, and get back to you guys on that. You know.
I remember
I once thought that the Kolabtree was down, it was going to be closed because I had no feedback, nobody was replying, I had no recommendations, nothing. I sent an email to Naren, is Kolabtree going down or is it closing? Because there was nothing from Kolabtree, not even a payment.
No, I remember.
Sorry,
I got that mail, and the first thing I did was go on the website. I was like, "Oh my god, what happened?" And yeah.
I remember one evening I got the highly rated expert logo or emoji or whatever, and I was so happy. And then I refreshed and it disappeared. It never came back again.
No way!
Wow.
I thought, but for Kolabtree, I'd like to also suggest maybe investigating a subscription format where a freelancer would subscribe to the platform, and then you don't take anything out of their fee. And so a freelancer would know that if they already hit this volume, a particular volume, then it becomes more economical for them to subscribe to Kolabtree and then get as many jobs as they could to sort of offset that. Another suggestion is to really market Kolabtree to universities that are underfunded. There are many states in the United States that do not receive as much funding, sort of underfunded states when it comes to science and technology. And these universities have labs, they have students, they have postdocs, but they're struggling, and they would benefit from knowing that Kolabtree is an option. And the list of underfunded states is known. And the universities are known as well. So this is a market that maybe if Kolabtree can tailor some advertisement for them, that would benefit the platform because it would bring in more customers or more clients. And lastly, for Hugo and Ariana, it's been a pleasure meeting you. And I'm sure it would be excellent to meet more freelancers. I wonder if there's a way where we could sort of have our ecosystem, not ecosystem, but sort of our group or our place
network. It would be nice.
That's where we can talk more and share experiences and so forth. That would be really nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's been really nice talking to you.
Yeah, I think that's something that we've been thinking about, and this was the first step. So this was the first thing that I could think of, get some freelancers on board. And once we put this out, once more freelancers get to know, like we're doing a mixer, things like that, I think eventually we could sort of start thinking about maybe like a forum or, some form of Kolabtree expansion network, where freelancers can reach out to each other, get guidance, exchange notes, insights, things like that. I think that could be really useful, yeah.